So I've been trying to keep up on the Kilmar Abrego Garcia situation as much as I can, and this is the most recent update we have. It's not much. It's still basically in limbo, unfortunately, and I feel like I've read this same headline like 100 times, but nothing ever happens, so just don't get your hopes up. Judge threatens DOJ with contempt over silence in Abrego Garcia deportation case. Washington U.S. District Judge Paula Xinis suggested that the Trump administration could be held in contempt of court on Tuesday after the Justice Department still hadn't provided a log of state secrets it wants to keep out of the public eye. The Barack Obama appointee ordered the White House to fix the deficiency under a tight 30-minute deadline. Failure to file the privilege log or otherwise respond will be construed as an intentional refusal to comply with this court's order. Last week, Xinis ordered the Justice Department to provide the legal and factual basis for invoking the state secrets privilege in an ongoing fight to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the U.S. The 29-year-old Maryland father has remained in prison in El Salvador despite the Supreme Court's order over a month ago, calling on the White House to facilitate his return. I don't know how we haven't held anyone in contempt yet over this. I feel like these judges just keep kicking the can down the road, hoping that, that either the public forgets about this or that Trump magically complies. At some point, and this goes for the Supreme Court too, you have to put your foot down. This isn't in administration where you can just give an inch. If you give an inch, they're going to take a mile. They're going to take several miles. So, it's time to rip the Band-Aid off. I don't know what to tell you. President Donald Trump said he could call the government officials in El Salvador to release Abrego Garcia. Trump refused to do so, however, because of the government's unproven claims that the Maryland father was a member of MS-13. Trump cited a photoshopped image of Abrego Garcia's knuckles as evidence of his membership. Man, I remember first looking at that, before the interview came out, the infamous interview where he said he could pick up the phone and call. When they showed the photo of the MS-13 on his knuckles, I'm like, no, what are you guys talking about? They're not trying to say MS-13 is tattooed on his knuckles. That is just they're trying to say those symbols on below the MS-13. They're trying to say hey, that marijuana leaf or whatever means M, and that next thing is an S, and so forth. And then that interview, and that might have been very well the original intent. And then that interview came out, and Trump's like, oh no, they're tattooed on there. Oh God. Anyways, Abrego Garcia has no criminal record in El Salvador or in the United States. We've been over his case a million times. In 2019, he was deemed a MS-13 gang member by an immigration judge, but immigration judge rulings, they don't have any criminal conviction or anything like that. And if he was, and if they had reasonable evidence to believe that he was a part of MS-13, he would have been deported then. Or he would have been, at the very least, criminally charged and prosecuted then. But he wasn't. And you can't use the excuse of Biden lets criminals go. No, this was in 2019 under Donald Trump. So if he was actually a criminal, he would have been prosecuted or deported then. But you know what happened? Those same immigration judges ended up granting a withholding order saying he can't be deported to El Salvador. And as a result, that withholding order, and that also granted him a legal status to be here and gave him a legal work permit to work here and live here. That is a fact. And whether you agree with that or not, then I don't know what to tell you, but that is the fact. Now, there were a couple of domestic abuse claims, and his wife had rescinded both of them and never took it any further. She came out and did a public statement saying that she acted in caution and that they were because she had been in domestic abuse situations before with other people. And so she said she overreacted and did it as a precaution. You can believe that if you want, but if you're going to sit here and cite those claims, you have to at least take into account what she said about those claims, that they worked it out in private and that she overreacted. And you also got to consider the fact that she is on the front line every single day in the media calling Senator Chris Van Hollen in the first place, to get him home. You have to account for that. You can't just conveniently ignore that she is the loudest voice in trying to get him home. And then I think that one of the last things we covered was that he got pulled over in a traffic stop, and he was they say he was suspected of human trafficking because he had like 8 people in his car. And of course, the only mention or inquiry, there was nothing official about human trafficking, no investigations or whatever. If some racist ass Tennessee cop being like, you know what we have here, right? It's just human trafficking because it's a bunch of fucking brown people in a car. Yeah. If it was a bunch of white people in a car like that, they wouldn't have said anything. So he said it was human trafficking, and they even called ICE, who didn't do anything. They said let him go. They're like, it's fine. So he wasn't human trafficking. I think if you were to actually give a neutral and logical, non-biased look at it, you would realize that he is a construction worker. He's actually in a union. And as he said in the video, he is driving his boss's car, and they were traveling to into different job sites. And, you know, in that construction industry, when you're going to different job sites, especially when they are state away, you tend to carpool. It was his boss's car. He put his boss on speakerphone immediately. You think if he was a human trafficker, he's going to call his boss and put him on speakerphone to the police? Like, come on, common sense, people. I thought that was supposed to be your thing. I digress. Where are we at? Abrego Garcia was unlawfully imprisoned in El Salvador's notorious terrorism prison with over 100 migrants in March. He has since been moved to a different prison in El Salvador. Oh, by the way, those other 100 immigrants, study showed lowest number, 70%, don't have any criminal records in the U.S. or their home country. Highest reports show 90% don't have a criminal record in the U.S. or their home country. Something else to keep in mind, that we are sending people not only that they don't have criminal records, they are alleged, they got no due process, there was no trial, and we sent them to a foreign slave labor camp. That is the nicest way that I can describe it. Abrego Garcia fled El Salvador as a teenager, fearing gang violence, and an immigration judge ruled that he couldn't be sent back to his home country for fear of persecution. The administration admitted in multiple court filings that Abrego Garcia was put on a plane to Centro de Well, that's not even okay. I don't need the El Salvadorian. I don't know what language they speak. I don't need that pronunciation. It's CCOT by accident. However, the White House now claims that it never conceded the wrongful deportation. CCOT is also the slave labor camp. Nicest way I can put it. Xinis has been pushing the Trump administration to provide evidence that is working on Abrego Garcia's release since the Supreme Court ordered the White House to facilitate his return in April. It's still unclear if the Justice Department has taken any steps to bring Abrego Garcia home over the last month. Xinis chastised the administration for its lack of progress and scheduled 2 weeks of discovery to review the government's efforts. As soon as Trump said in that interview that he could pick up that phone and bring him back anytime, it should have been game, set, match. Someone should have been held in contempt the day after. That was a full-blown admission, because up until that point, they were just lying. They were saying, "Oh, El Salvador is a sovereign country. We don't have the power to get them back. What do you want us to do? We can't force them to give them back." It's like, one, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And then you have Bukele say, the president of El Salvador, Bukele's like, I don't know what you want me to do. You want me to smuggle them back into the U.S.? I don't even have the authority to release them. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You guys are just gaslighting liars. Holy crap. So, anyways, there's little public knowledge of these efforts, in part because the Justice Department invoked a state secrets privilege to file court documents under seal. Court documents indicated that Xinis held a hearing earlier this month before denying the Trump administration's request for another pause. There's no transcript of the hearing. 14 news organizations asked to intervene in the case to unseal the documents. The news group said Abrego Garcia's high-profile case called for maximum transparency so that everyone could participate in and serve as a check on the government. And don't you guys find it suspicious, the amount of secrecy to the point where they're invoking the state secrets privilege, which is supposed to, like, over national security concerns? Like, what are you talking about? Like, does that not raise any alarm bells with everything else going on here? Xinis said that the provisional sealing that has been used in early stages of the case to safeguard sensitive information, but now both sides will have to ask for approval before sealing files. She called on both sides to file a briefing on the state secrets invocation. By Tuesday, the Justice Department still hadn't filed its privilege log. Xinis gave the White House 30 minutes on Tuesday afternoon to submit the documents. The administration sealed log came in around 3:25 p.m. Xinis plans to hold a hearing on Friday to review state secret questions, and I'll probably end up covering that on Monday, so stick around for that. But yeah, that's what we have on Abrego Garcia. For all the strawmanners out there, I'm not necessarily defending the man. I am defending the Constitution and the right to due process for everyone, no matter what their status is, because that's the entire point of due process. If they can throw him away and all these other people away who have no criminal records and all this with no due process, no trials, anything, straight, literally straight from a detention center, straight to detention center, straight to El Salvador. You don't see a problem with that. That is blatantly just disregarding the Constitution and due process. How can you not see that? This isn't a normal deportation. Even a normal deportations, there's supposed to be a hearing, but this is a deportation to CCOT, a terrorism confinement prison, a slave labor camp. People go there, and there's hundreds of deaths that happen there every year. There's tortures, there's beatings. There's 100 people in one cell with 4 mattresses if you're lucky and 2 toilets. And we're sending people who are alleged. We shouldn't be sending anyone there because that's just cruel and unusual punishment. But we're sending alleged people there. And the more we find out, that these people actually aren't criminals. Like, it blows my mind on how this is even a debate and how these right-wing hogs are defending this. Like, it's insane. Due process. If they can do it to them, they can do it to me, they can do it to you. Because you might say, hey, I'm a U.S. citizen. Here's my passport. Here's my real ID. Here's my driver's license. Here's my birth certificate. And they'll say, fuck you. I don't know. No due process. You don't get a chance to prove shit. Like, how can you not understand that? Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.